I'm Molly Ball, National Political Correspondent for Time magazine. I normally write about United States politics, but thanks to a grant from the Pulitzer Center, I was able to report on an international story that's important to me, both for its geopolitical implications and for personal reasons. My first job out of college was as a reporter for the Cambodia Daily, an English-language newspaper in Phnom Penh that was started in the early 1990s by a retired American journalist who lives in Tokyo named Bernie Krischer. Bernie Krischer is a complex and fascinating character. He's a Holocaust survivor who grew up in New York and then moved to Asia, where he became the Tokyo bureau chief for Newsweek magazine. He was quite the mover and shaker there in the 1970s. He knew everybody of any importance. He interviewed the emperor. He was also a really tough boss. He was hard on his staff and sometimes cruel. That was something that I would eventually experience when I went to work for him. After he was let go by Newsweek, he helped create one of Japan's first sort of gossip tabloids, and then he became a humanitarian. One of the important people Bernie had gotten to know during his career as a foreign correspondent was the King of Cambodia, Norodom Sihanouk. Sihanouk had been in exile from his country since the Khmer Rouge genocide of the early 1970s, living in China and North Korea. In 1991, peace finally came to Cambodia after decades of civil war and Vietnamese occupation. Sihanouk decided to go back home where he was deeply beloved by his people, and he called his old friend Bernie Krischer and asked him to help. The United Nations was working to rebuild Cambodia, to try to turn it into a functioning democracy. So the UN helped write a constitution which guaranteed things like freedom of speech, and they helped hold the first ever elections in more than 1,000 years of Cambodian history. Bernie started the Cambodia Daily, staffed with both Cambodian and Western reporters, printed in both English and the Khmer language. The idea was to show the citizens of this new democracy the value of a free press and objective journalism. He did a number of other projects as well. He started an orphanage, he built hundreds of rural schools, and he used his many connections to get people to donate to all of these humanitarian projects. In those first elections, the Royalist Party got the most votes, but the Cambodian People's Party refused to accept the result of the election. The CPP was led by a man named Hun Sen, a former Khmer Rouge commander who'd been the prime minister under the Vietnamese occupation. And the UN's response was to say, okay, you have to share power. You can be co-prime ministers. So essentially, the international community, rather than enforce the results of a democratic election, had just sort of looked the other way. Fast forward 25 years to today, Hun Sen is still in power, and he's become increasingly dictatorial. He's consolidated power, he's persecuted the opposition, and in September 2017, he shut down the Cambodia Daily. Bernie Krischer is now 86 years old, he's in failing health, he still lives in Tokyo. I went to Tokyo to see Bernie, and I went on to Phnom Penh to see what remains of the things that he built in Cambodia. I wanted to find out what it means for the future of Cambodia, for the future of Asia, and really for the future of democracy. It has profound implications. You can read my article in the January 2018 issue of The Atlantic. Thanks to the Pulitzer Center for supporting this important story.